Cecile, a very good evening to you, and thank you for your time. So was there ever any doubt that the court would reach this conclusion?
I mean, there's always doubt when we go into litigation, but I think the Constitution is quite clear that the right to education extends to everyone, and that's exactly what the court has found in this judgment, that irrespective of whether or not a child has documentation or whether or not they are an illegal foreigner, under the South African Constitution, everyone has a right to basic education.
Speak to us, Cecile, for a moment about the number of children who would have been impacted by this decision by the Eastern Cape Education Department, because the circular that was issued came out in March of 2016.
I mean, it's difficult to say exactly what the number of children are, specifically in the Eastern Cape, who's been impacted. But we know from the numbers that have been provided to us by the Department of Basic Education that in this year alone, there were over 998,000 learners in schools in the East, or in schools in South Africa who did not have documentation. That meant that those children were not receiving any funding for education products, such as, for example, school nutrition. They were not receiving teacher funding. They were not receiving any funding under their paper budget. This does not include the learners who have simply been excluded from school because they do not have documentation. So, I mean, it's difficult to determine the exact number of learners who've been impacted by this, but it's over, especially since, given the fact that this has been going on since 2016, it has been a very, very large number of learners.
And of the 900,000 plus children who we know are undocumented in South African schools, I was quite struck by the statistics. Only 16% of them are actually children of illegal immigrants, with the bulk of them being South Africans who, for some reason, do not have the necessary paperwork. How does that occur?
I mean, maybe I should just clarify as well. It is correct. I mean, I think the perception often exists that children who are undocumented must be illegal foreigners, and the statistics obviously show us that that's not true. A large number of children who are undocumented in this country, and specifically who are attending school in South Africa, are undocumented South Africans. And the reason for that is often because they struggle to navigate the difficult rules of the Department of Home Affairs. It becomes very difficult, for example, when a child's mother has absconded, or the mother is missing, or the mother herself is undocumented. It becomes very difficult then to register the birth of a child. And it is more difficult, especially for children living in rural areas, where they are not able to easily access the offices of the Department of Home Affairs. I might also add that of the 16% of learners that are in the school system currently that are undocumented, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are the children of illegal foreigners. It just means that they themselves do not have the necessary documents. It might be that they are still in the process of obtaining those documents, or for some reason their applications have not been accepted and they're really, really struggling. The number of reasons why people can't access documentation in this country there's a lot of reasons for it.
So close to 1 million children without documentation. It's a worrying number. What is being done on the ground to make sure that these children, be they foreign nationals or local, which are the bulk of them, actually get the paperwork?
I think what has come out from the judgment, and if you look at the kind of evidence that was placed before the court by the Legal Resources Centre and by the Centre for Child Law, and also by the South African Human Rights Commission and Section 27, who are amicus in this matter, it is clear that, and as much as the Department of Home Affairs and the Department of Basic Education are trying to assist learners to access documentation, it seems that a lot of it has to do with a very strict application of the Department of Home Affairs' rules around birth registration. So the moment somebody shows up who can't comply exactly with the rules, it becomes very difficult for that child or for their caregiver or for their guardian to be able to negotiate and navigate the state bureaucracy to be able to get their child registered ultimately.
Very quickly then, Cecile, speak to us about this process that's already underway to rework some of the admissions policies. I know the Education Department is working with various other people, including the people you were with in this case, as well as the Human Rights Commission.
I think that just if we look at the judgment of today, there are a number of principles that have been put into law. And I think that this will need to be taken into account, whatever policy the department comes up with. Basically, the first thing is that you've got to admit a child into a school, even if they do not have any documentation. And in lieu of documentation, a principal must accept a sworn statement or an affidavit from a caregiver just identifying the child, right? So that's sort of the first basic principle, and whatever the department comes up with has to comply with that kind of principle. Also, a child cannot be excluded if they are in the school and they are undocumented. So we can't say, because you don't have documentation, you can now be excluded. The previous policy allowed for exclusion after 3 months, and of course that will no longer be allowed. The third kind of principle that has been established is the fact that, if a child is in school, they have a right to receive funding. So the issue that occurred under the circular where children were undocumented but in the school and not receiving funding will now no longer be allowed. It's an ongoing process of negotiation, but I think the judge will give us very clear guidelines on what this, how admissions into public schools must happen, and specifically, what do we do in the case of an undocumented learner.
Cecile van Skalkwyk from the Legal Resources Centre, thank you so much for being on Nightline.